Welcome back to the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. My name's Jared Mello, and I'm also the Shepherd of Black Sheep. I haven't been live here for a minute. I apologize for that, but I'm back again today. And I wanted to go over two things today. The first thing is, do narcissists collaborate with their flying monkeys in order to do smear campaigns? And I also want to go over a little bit my interview with Christian John. And I think he's got a fascinating perspective. It's not quite the same as Dr. Salerno, but it's still super interesting one way or the other. And I think I'm going to hold that off until later when more people join the live. But first, let's go over, do narcissists collaborate with their flying monkeys? And to some people, it might appear like they do, but I wouldn't call what they're doing with the flying monkeys collaboration. And there's a reason for that. Let's examine the definition of collaboration. The definition of collaboration is mutual respect and trust and collective problem solving to achieve a common goal. The only part of that you could maybe say narcissists would have is, well, if everyone's just selfishly doing what they want, is that a common goal? No, I don't even think that's a common goal. They're all just selfishly doing what they want. Flying monkeys, they might be in a trauma bond with a narcissist, or they might even be narcissists themselves. But are they collaborating with a narcissist? No, I wouldn't think so. I think more so what they're doing is the narcissist is dominating, intimidating, manipulating, and coercively controlling them. And the narcissist, because the flying monkey fears them, they fear them and fear consequences. They might do what the narcissist asks. And one of the consequences might be the narcissist will threaten to leave them, or the narcissist will threaten to do something to them. And then this keeps the flying monkeys in line. But is that collaboration? No, that is not collaboration. That is not mutual respect. That is not collective problem solving. That is anything that's fear, intimidation, bullying, dominating. Definitely not the same as collaboration. Ellie, how are you? Glad you found me here. We're going over collaboration and do narcissists collaborate with their flying monkeys? And that's the thing. Like when they do a smear campaign, I think what I would say happens is flying monkeys spread smear campaigns for their own selfish reasons, not necessarily just because they are subscribed to the narcissist distorted version of reality. That is more true for the person in a relationship with a narcissist, because sometimes what will happen is the family members of someone who is in a trauma bond with a narcissist, they'll tell the family member, hey, that person's no good. The person's no good. And then the victim will defend the narcissist to their family members. And why do they do that? Well, they're subscribed to the narcissist distorted version of reality. They're in a trauma bond. And one, they don't see it as clearly yet. Two, they might be afraid of consequences that the narcissist may give them. And three, the victim just doesn't want to hear it from their family, right? They're still on the narcissist team. So they're going to defend the narcissist to their family. The youngest in charge. Hey, Jared, how are you? There you go. Welcome to the channel there, youngest in charge. And so that's the thing. That is not collaboration when someone's intimidating, bullying, and coercively controlling. And it can just so happen to be the goals can appear similar, but that is not collective problem solving. That is not mutual respect. If anything, it's just tyranny. And you'll see this in toxic workplaces, right? They're trying to go towards a common goal in many cases, but it's certainly not a healthy collaboration. That's for sure. And you see this among some governments too. Look back to World War II. You look at the Germans in World War II. I wouldn't necessarily call what they were doing collaboration. There was more like what they would do is they'd pin people against one another, and it was just chaos. Angela, how are you? Thank you, the youngest in charge. I appreciate that. And so the flying monkeys, there's two versions of them, right? There's the version that is just subscribed to the narcissist distorted version of reality. And then there's a version that's narcissistic themselves. And then there's a version that's a combination of both, because the narcissist they are flying monkey for has just out-narked them. So all of those things are possible. But it's a good question to ask. Yeah, are they collaborating with their flying monkeys? No, no, not collaborating. It's a toxic mesh. It's a toxic mesh of fear, intimidation, domination, bullying, and control. Definitely not collaboration, though. And those arrangements are very fragile. That's not a long term arrangement. And the only way those arrangements work out is if someone has no boundaries. They have no boundaries. They never put their foot down. They never say no. That's the only case where it might appear like it's going to go well. The youngest in charge says, "My name is OJ, the founder of the brand The Youngest in Charge. Are you on Instagram?" Yes, I am on Instagram. At the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. And Angela, how are you this evening? No, sociopaths are not collaborating with anybody. They're just Machiavellian and they're all for themselves. And that's the thing. When people that are both extremely selfish, that are looking out for their own interests, it might appear like they're collaborating, but that is not what they're doing. They're not collaborating. They're really just, it's more of a coincidence that their goals are just aligned. But it's not because they're collaborating. It's just because they're both being selfish. And it just looks like that's what's going on. But it's not. That's not what's going on. But for the people who are here, very good, Angela. Yeah, I do absolutely. Flying monkeys can definitely be narcissists too. They might just be a lesser version than the main narcissist, but often they are certainly narcissistic in their own right. Definitely not just a victim, we'll say. An enabler can be a little more of a victim, but what enablers do isn't really good either. I just did a video today about the narcissistic mother and enabler father. Next will be narcissistic father and enabler mother. But in both cases, it's not good. Now, I think it's less good for the enabler father because as the man, you expect them to stick up for the kids more if the narcissistic mother is giving them a hard time. But that's certainly not always what happens, right? The narcissistic mother, she's able to manipulate and control him. Now, when it's a narcissistic father and an enabler mother, on the other hand, the narcissistic father has a physical intimidation in there as well. And sometimes the enabler mother might be fearful of that or other kinds of consequences. Either way, it's still not a good scenario. And either way, it's ideal to get out of those situations, no doubt. But they get stuck, right? People get stuck because of finances. They get stuck because they're in a trauma bond. And that's also the big thing about a trauma bond, too. People will come up with all sorts of reasons why they can't go. And this happens a lot with my coaching clients, the people I do consultations with. They'll tell me all the reasons why they can't go. And then some of those reasons solve themselves for whatever reason. And then they still find a reason why they can't go. And that's what tells me, okay, it really just wasn't that. It's the trauma bond using that as a way to not leave. That's something I've seen happen. So they'll say, I can't leave because of this. And then that problem gets solved. And then they still don't want to leave. But that's how you know a trauma is at play. That's how you know a trauma bond is at play. Angela asks, what are your thoughts on very good question. Lyle and Eric Menendez, the brothers who killed their parents. Did Lyle and Eric Menendez experience narcissistic abuse during their childhood? Do they deserve to be free? So for those who don't know, they killed their parents back in 1989. And I might go over more of these current events things too at some point. So there's a couple questions to ask though, right? Well, is the story they're telling true? Right? Did their father really SA them? And did their mother really stand by and not do anything about it? I heard, and I don't know that much about the case, but I heard some family members did say there was abuse. But then the problem was, I think they were adults at the time, and then they killed both of them. It's one thing if you kill just your abuser, but then you kill the other one too just for enabling. That doesn't look as good. That doesn't look as good. And then they went on that spending spree. But it brings up a very good question, which is, when does a victim go too far in their self-defense? When does a victim go too far if it's a reaction to abuse? It's a good question. I mean, and so far the law has said, well, you can't kill your parents, regardless of what they did to you, especially his mother, right? If they just did the father, maybe it would be a little different. But they did it to the mother too. So I don't think that helped them out at all. And so, are they a danger to society still? Nah, I mean, probably not. Probably not. But I also think they probably did deserve to be in jail for a while. It's just a matter of how long. I'm not sure. Because imagine this. Let's fast forward the tapes. If you're always just allowed to off the person that is abusing you, then everyone who kills someone is going to want to say, I was abused by this person, right? As a get out of jail free card thing. And it's a very complicated thing, because what happened to them is definitely atrocious. What happened to them is not right. And it's not right that the mother didn't stand up for them either. But I also think they didn't necessarily have to do that either. They could have just left as well. They were older. And then they went on that spending spree afterwards. So Rhodes says, how can you tell the difference between a flying monkey and an enabler? That is a very good question. And I've gone over that in a video before, and I'll go over it again now. So to me, a flying monkey is more offensive in nature. So they will actively spread smear campaigns. They will commit abuse by proxy. They will even do abuse on their own behalf, right? Just because they're abusive anyway. And sometimes it's for the narcissist, sometimes it's not. But whatever you say to a flying monkey, they're going to report that back to the narcissist. An enabler, on the other hand, is more on the defensive to me, and they're more passive in nature. They'll just want to have dishonest harmony, or they'll tell the kids, if it's an enabler father, just say sorry to your mother so we can get back to normal. Or, you know how your mother can get. Can you please just apologize? Or, I have to live with her. Can you please just think of me? So the enabler, it's not good. They're enabling abuse to continue, right? That's only a very, it's just about as bad as a flying monkey, honestly. It's like slightly not as bad. But when they're doing that, they are hurting everyone around them. It's selfish. They're being selfish. And that's what you hear a lot of in the enablers, is it's about them. It's not about the kids being mistreated. It's, I have to deal with her. Can you make it easier on me? Your mom's going to give me a hard time. Can you just go along to get along so I don't hear it? But think about how selfish that is for them to be saying that to their children. Yes, you're being abused. Yes, you're being mistreated. But what about me? But what about me? Your mom's going to give me an earful. You better just take it. So that's the ridiculous part of an enabler. But to me, it's enabling abuse, and it's more on the defensive and more passive. And so it's not good. Neither one of them are good. I think some people want to say enablers aren't as bad, but they're not good. I mean, especially when children are involved, it's not good. And I've seen, of course, there's male enablers and female enablers. And I've heard some women not believe their daughters when a dad or stepdad SA'd. And so, I mean, there's some pretty awful situations. Or women choosing a romantic partner over their children. Not good. Angela says, Lyle and Eric Menendez said that their mother abused them. Mother? I thought it was the father. I thought it was the father who did both, and the mother just enabled it. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Ellie says they were denied parole because they were determined to be sociopaths with no remorse and still a danger to society at large, despite their good behaviors in prison. I also heard their behavior wasn't necessarily the best in prison either. They helped with some some tax fraud, and some other gang things. I didn't hear that about the sociopath part. So, I mean, in the pictures I've seen of them, it doesn't necessarily look like they have remorse. They're smiling and they're like grinning ear to ear. So, they that's the thing. They're probably troubled people, right? And they've been in jail, what, 35 years from 1989 to 2025. So 36 years. Not good. Victims can become abusers too. Yes, they can. And then at that point, right? How they're not better than the abusers at that point, the original abusers. If you become like the person that abused you, how much better is that? And that's why I think people really have to be careful with this. There are some people who think once you're a victim, it's all about a power dynamic. The abuser is the one that has the power, and the victim is just the person that doesn't have power. And the victim can never be abusive, no matter what. But I think that's a very dangerous way to think because it's not always that cut and dry. Power dynamics change, and the law doesn't see it that way either. And the Menendez brothers proved that. So even if they were abused, the law wasn't like, well, they're victims, so they can do whatever they want. No, they got a life sentence, I guess, or I don't know what the sentence was, but it must have been a long time. So there's got to be a line somewhere where you can't just do the same things just because you're a victim. And you'll see this on a political chessboard too. People just saying, I'm doing it in response to this. I'm doing it in response to this. And around it goes. And that can go on forever. So it's a complicated question. It makes people very uncomfortable. And I know why it does. But just because someone's a victim doesn't mean they have a get out of jail free card. And if anything, the only way I can get people to see it is narcissists play the victim too. Narcissists will play the victim. They'll exaggerate their victimhood. And if you're a professional, if you're the law, you can't just blindly believe someone who says they're the victim. Why? Because narcissists do the same thing. Psychopaths may do the same thing. Sociopaths may do the same thing. So you have to do your due diligence because you don't want to give the narcissist a free pass. Now, you could say that's not fair to the people that have truly been abused, but you have to get to the bottom of it. And that's why it was so smart what Dr. Salerno said in my last interview with him. He said, you have to be a scientist before you're an advocate. And that's also something that's probably going to make a lot of people upset, especially if a psychologist, counselor, therapist is doing that they're going to be a scientist, which means what? It means they're going to be skeptical. They're going to have to question you. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be a dick about it. It means that you just have to do your due diligence. That's what it means. It means you have to ask questions. Doesn't mean you do so in a compassionless way. Doesn't mean you do it in an empathyless way. But you do have to find the truth. And that's an important thing. And you do that because you don't want to be validating the wrong person. You want to get to the truth. And in order to get to the truth, you have to be skeptical. You have to question things. And that's what I've learned how to do in my consultations. If you ask certain questions and you talk to them, the truth comes out. The truth comes out. And then some people will say, well, someone with CPTSD or someone who's been narcissistic abused, they might act similar. It's like, well, not usually. Not usually. The people who have been abused, often they'll blame themselves. Often they're very confused. Often they don't know up from down, left from right. And their heads are spinning. And they feel, you can tell there's like an anxiousness or a worriedness in their voice. They're very tense. They've been walking on eggshells. The predators don't feel that. The predators, they usually seem much more sure of themselves. They're more confident. They are more certain. And usually they'll just completely externalize the blame. That's what I see them do all the time. Rhodes says, non-responsive bystanders are among the most contemptible in my book. Non-responsive bias. So you mean basically the people who are watching enablers? Is that what you mean? Hello, Jen. Angela says, have you ever seen Dr. Jerry Wise's work against narcissistic parents on YouTube? I have not seen it. Could you give me a little bit of a summary? Ellie says, there was also mention of drug abuse in prison. Yeah, so that wouldn't surprise me either. That wouldn't surprise me either. So it's like, I get it on one hand. You're going to be in jail for the rest of your life. They probably just say, screw it. But now that there's a chance for them to get out, they're like, wait a minute. Now it's really important for me to get out. I mean, some people find God in jail. Some people like take it upon themselves to find religion. Jan says, narcs know what they do. Pure, dark, evil bullies. Yes. Many of them, that is absolutely what they do. And I posted the other day on Facebook and Instagram that quote from Father Merrin. So anyone who's seen The Exorcist, he talks to Damien and he says, the biggest thing is to avoid conversations with the demon, because the demon is a liar and they're going to mix lies with the truth to attack you. So what you have to do is not listen. And what does that remind you of? It reminds you a lot of narcissists and how they gaslight, how they'll mix lies with the truth, they'll twist and distort, and it's all a psychological attack. And it's something that you have to watch out for. So especially if you have to deal with one because of co-parenting, definitely something to pay attention to. Rhodes says, non-responsive bystanders are both silent witnesses and enablers. It's a category that merges the two. Okay, that makes sense. Hoorah, Phil Bradley. And so you'll see this in a lot of governments, right? Or nation states. So there's a lot of non-responsive bystanders that are, I guess I'll call those the people that are just minding their own business, right? And they'll say, oh yes, we're just minding our own business. But guess what? Minding your own business can also enable abuse to happen. Sometimes you got to speak up. Sometimes you can't just stay in your own lane. That's the other thing I'll see people say, oh, go stay in your lane. It's like, no, I mean, sometimes staying in your lane is going to enable abuse to happen too. You don't need that. Ellie says, the brothers most likely learn to be better criminals too while incarcerated. I mean, most likely. The American penal system, people learn, it's not about rehabilitation at all. That's for sure. Other Nordic countries, it is more about rehabilitation. And sometimes people don't like that very much. But America's, it's more punitive, for sure. So, and people that go to prison in America, that's what happens. They learn all of the wrong things. Angela says Dr. Jerry Wise's work is about enmeshment. I'm a big fan of learning about that. How narcissistic parents create a malignant system, and how leaving your house isn't enough to heal from their abuse. So Dr. Salerno says something similar, where just going no contact isn't enough to heal the trauma bond. And I agree. I mean, if going no contact is enough, great. But if it's not, then that's where EMDR or some other trauma work comes into play. I'd be curious what he goes over about enmeshment. You'll see enmeshment a lot in these dysfunctional family systems where the boundaries are blurred between individuals. And so I just did a video today about brother-sister enmeshment. The brothers also probably have a premium case of arrested human development. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the ages when that abuse started for them, but let's put it this way. It couldn't have possibly helped them. It could only have made it worse. Angela says, are the Menendez brothers narcissists like the parents? Ellie said they're sociopaths. I think that's what they've been diagnosed with. Because, I mean, let's face it. Not many people are going to kill their parents. So it takes a certain type of person to do that, even if justified. But there are other cases where it is more of a cut and dry self-defense case where a parent is like coming at them with a knife and then they do something to stop it and it kills them. That's more of a cut and dry self-defense. But this wasn't necessarily that. It was kind of more of a premeditated thing where they just wanted revenge. And so it's, again, I'm not saying I have the right or wrong answers here. I don't know that much about the case. I just know I've been seeing a lot about it on social media. And if you guys want, I might do more of these current event stories or breaking down other YouTubers like I did with Dr. Orion Taraban, or what the heck's her name? Sadia Khan, or fill in the blank, maybe other narcissistic creators, people who talk about narcissism. I'd be open to doing that. Also, did any of you watch my interview with Christian? Ellie says, because there was no real rehabilitation, they are not equipped to handle the real world, in my opinion. And that's a fair opinion. It's a fair opinion. I mean, how old were they when they went in? Was it late teens or early 20s? Yeah, they can be good, right? People like those. People like it. I mean, like Taraban in particular, he likes doing some mildly antagonistic takes. And so does Sadia Khan, for that matter. They both do. And so to me, they're ripe for the picking. I'll give them a run for their money. And maybe I'll do more of that moving forward, or other current events things. I mean, there's a lot of channels on YouTube. What they do is they break down the comedy sphere, the Joe Rogan sphere. There's a whole booming business of creators that they basically just make fun of them. They make fun of Rogan. They make fun of Tony Hinchcliffe. They make fun of Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, Brendan Schaub. Who else? Andrew Schultz. Well, I'm glad you liked it. I wish that interview got more views, but it's got a few hundred and something. I got to try to find a way to crack this YouTube algorithm where it seems like unless I'm interviewing someone already very popular, the YouTube algorithm just doesn't like it very much. So it likes Dr. Salerno, it likes HG Tutor, but that's the game with YouTube. You have to interview someone who's popular, and then the views come. Which is why Soft White Underbelly is interesting, because he doesn't do it that way. I was thinking about this today. He interviews no-namers. And some of them I know. I know the sisters that he interviewed that were all on heroin. I invited one of them on my show, but my show is not as big as his show, of course. So it would feel like a step down to her, probably. But the interviewer is the one, he brings them popularity, not the other way around, which I think is interesting, right? He's just telling these very interesting stories. What did you like about it, Ellie? Or what was the parts that stood out to you? Or what could you relate to? My attention stops. My attention span is limited lately, so I have to go slowly. That's understandable. I think everyone's attention span has dwindled as of late because our attention is being pulled in so many different directions. And honestly, a big culprit of it is the phone, our social media. And for me, though, I have to be on it because it's my job. Like, I get paid to do it. So what I find is the biggest struggle is not getting distracted by the next pop-up. And like it'll try to steal your attention to the next stupid thing. But to stay focused on what you're doing, that's the difficult part. Angela says the Menendez brothers killed their parents when they were teenagers, 18 and 21 years old. Prison should know if prisoners are narcissists or not. Well, they said sociopath is what Ellie said. I liked her personality, really, and your interviewing is very good, Jared. Thank you very much. You mean his personality, or did you watch? Are you talking about another interview? Now, I would like to be one of the go-to interviewers in the space here. I don't see a reason why I couldn't be someone like the Diary of a CEO or Chris Williamson or fill in the blank with another popular interviewer. I don't see a reason why I couldn't. I just need to up my production value. That's what I've been thinking about recently. I have to up it because sometimes my StreamYard, the image quality is just not as good as I would like it to be sometimes. It's like, what do they do to make it so much better? I don't know. That's a good question. But, and some of them just have a whole team, like they have a whole team. Oh, woman. Are you talking about Marcella or vibing with Cece? Rhodes says you would have a field day with Kirk Honda of psychology in Seattle. The guy's a professor and expert in personality disorders, but is a hardcore blank slatist. Oh, and leans hard on identity politics. Uh-oh. I would probably have a field day with that. I mean, how is he take with disagreements? Because I can understand some identity politics, but I'm not a fan of it. Not a fan. At least not anymore. I don't think it's helpful. Dr. Salerno is very open about accepting that narcissists are possessed by demons. Did I say that? I mean, we went over that, right? We went over that. He doesn't want to stake his opinions on it unless he changed his mind. Because as a professional, I mean, he's retired now, so maybe now he'll be more willing because he's not an active practitioner. He just does coaching now as a former practitioner and consultations, I should say. So I'll have to ask him if his opinions have changed. And Rhodes, Kirk Honda's his name. I'm going to write that down. Because some people don't like disagreements either. And so I've invited people on, and if they even sniff, I might disagree with them, they don't come on. I've got some debate bro in me. I don't mind being very disagreeable. I like it. Because I do like to win in that way, but some people don't like it. Kirk Honda, I'm writing it down. Kirk Honda. Am I trying to interview some conservatives in the space, some progressives in the space? Everyone. Ellie, probably Cece will definitely comment later. I am very, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully feel better. A friend of mine said she might have strep throat today. I totally get it. Cece has great energy. And the second one I did with her, she still had a great energy, but she also just went through a breakup. So I could tell that she wasn't as bubbly as she was the first time. But I don't hold that against her. I mean, she's human and she was going through it and she was still kind enough to come on the show. So I'm very grateful for her. I liked her expression, love in the microwave doesn't taste as good as love from the oven. And she used it as a food analogy. Food cooked in the oven tastes better than food cooked in a microwave. Meaning, take your time, do it slower, it'll taste better than simply nuking it. And I agree with that. Angela says, Dr. Salerno said that many talked about people sending him comments about the Jezebel demon. Okay, so he said he was open to it. Okay. I could see that. I mean, he's gotten pushback when people like, for example, he had a video about narcissists having dead eyes and how that's not scientifically proven. And a lot of people did not like that he said that. But my defense of him would be there really is no way to prove it. How do you prove that? How do you back that up with a study? There really is no way to. So, These sore throats are coming around. I mean, but Angela, I do think there can definitely be a spiritual component because I think of demons in many ways. I think there's addictions demons, and think about AA and NA. I think one of the reasons it works is it works on a spiritual component of people, where they say it's a spiritual malady. And I don't think it's a coincidence that when people go off the rails, their spirituality declines too. Now, granted, a full blown narcissist, they're probably still going to have problems in AA and NA too. Alex, what's shaking? I agree with you. There's definitely a spiritual component. I see it. And I kind of see it as there's many versions of demons. And I think that's one of them. There's a narcissism demon, an addiction demon, and the addiction demons take many forms too, right? Love, drugs, alcohol, sex, shopping, money, power. Dr. Salerno said that many people sent him comments about the Jezebel demon. Oh, okay. No, you're all good. You're all good. Rhodes says, I just finished Cece's book, Show Up As Her. Loved it. Thanks for the recommendation. I'll have to tell her you got it. Because I read it too. I thought it was great. She thinks a lot like me. And granted, it was for women, but that didn't really ruin it for me. Right? It was, she thinks in a very similar way. It's like, maybe we learned from the same people. And it was a combination of people, by the way, because I learned from a lot of people. And it seems like she's learned from a lot of the same people I have, which is cool. It's one of the reasons why I like her. And I'll have her on the show again too. And I mean, hopefully my hope is the bigger I get, the more I can help her too. Like the more I can help her get bigger as well. And that goes for anyone that's on my channel here, because right now it's like a mutual helping. But if I get bigger, I can help more people and help them get exposure and make or break more of them. It's soul loss and other spirits step in. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. But I also liked what I was going over with Christian about the narcissist operating system. And I'm going to do a video about this too. But I think what I think about it now is the genetic component is what creates that operating system. Now, there's a difference, though, between simply behaviors that are narcissistic, things that happen maybe because of the environment, versus a narcissistic operating system. I think that's a different ballgame. I think some behaviors can look similar without the operating system, without the genetic component, but it's not going to be as severe, if I had to guess. And this is something I'm going to talk about with Salerno. But that's the cool part about Christian. He is more environmental focused. So he's not, and he also said, I'm not sure if you picked up on this, but he said he doesn't believe that narcissism and borderline can be comorbid. Dr. Salerno says 60% of the time they can be comorbid, or 60% of people with one cluster B disorder qualify for another. But the distinction that Christian made makes me think something different, because he had said, yes, if you're diagnosing from behaviors and the 5 of the 9 traits of narcissism or borderline. But I think that's different. Like anyone can have some of those traits, even prolonged, but that is different than an operating system. The operating system is different. And so he says you can't have a narcissistic and borderline operating system at the same time. You can have behaviors, but that is not the same. That is not the same as an operating system. Ellie says, I appreciate a good interview. It is a rare talent plus skill. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying to improve my craft. And one of the ways I'm trying to improve my craft is to not say the word like. I put a note. Don't say like. Pause, not like. It's hard because it's my one stupid go-to word. It's a filler word to help me think. Like and so. I'm trying to get rid of both of them. And it's hard, but I'll do it. Angela says narcissism doesn't have cure because it's a spiritual problem and a disconnection from God. I think that's also what addiction is. It's a disconnection. Addiction is stems from a disconnection. I would agree. Who else do you listen to with interviews, Ellie? Who do you really find helpful or talented? Hmm. Less is more. I agree with you. And it's hard though. Those silences and pauses, they're hard, especially if you have anxiety, then you become more tempted to fill it. But here's the other thing, the more hours of live I do, the more comfortable I am with it. It doesn't get to me anymore. It used to. I used to be super awkward, especially when I knew something was live. I could record it, but live was a different ballgame. But I decided to challenge myself, as you've seen recently over the last 6 months or so. And I wanted to make sure I could be comfortable with this. And one of the reasons I want to be comfortable with this is because I see the writing on the wall with AI. AI can take the place of simple recorded videos. But what AI can't do is a live stream. AI can't do a connection. AI can't do the in person real connection. So that's what I want to try to do. Yeah, let me know when you figure it out, Ellie. Angela says Dr. Margaret Paul's work about narcissists is also extraordinary. I don't know who that is either. Is that a woman? I'll write her down. Honestly, I get most of the people that I come to get on the show from Instagram. Instagram is where I see people popping off the most, and I see the people in my sphere. And that's probably part of the problem because people can be more viral on one platform than the other. YouTube is one thing, but the Instagram algorithm is a completely different algorithm than YouTube. I see people on Instagram who are super popular, people such as Sinful, people such as the People Displeaser, people such as who else? Marcella, CC. They're all popular, but it doesn't necessarily translate to YouTube views. Rhodes says, I listened to your episode with Christian. It was my sense that he still has too much unfinished business to be able to provide a wise perspective on any of this. A little bit critical. I mean, he speaks very well, and I think, what do I think? An intelligent person. Now, if you want to question how far along he is in his journey, that's a different question. But I think he does know his stuff about narcissism. As far as his personal journey, I don't know him that well. I mean, I wouldn't mind being his friend. I like him. And yeah, but I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll keep that in mind. Dr. Paul created inner bonding, a method for victims of narcissists. I've heard of that, but I'm not too familiar with it. Now, Rhodes, what gave you that impression, though? I guess that's what I'll be curious about too. Thank you, Ellie. I did enjoy that, the Dr. Simon by Dr. Salerno interview. That was a good one. I'm proud of that one. It was touching to me how Dr. Simon got a little bit emotional towards the end of that because I don't know how old he is. He might be in his 70s, early 70s, maybe mid 70s even. So he's coming towards the end of his career, really. And he thinks about legacy, he thinks about the impact he's had on the world. And those are all very important questions for all of us to ask, honestly. Oh, that was my question for you, Rhodes. What was the unfinished business that you think he had? Your interviews are very good, Jared. Thank you, Angela. And I like your recommendations here too. I do. The people, when you all give me recommendations, I absolutely do reach out to them. Most of them say yes. Some of them I don't hear back from, but many of them do. And that's the reason why I got HG Tutor on the show all those years ago, because someone in my comment section told me to. And I reached out to him and it worked. And so far, I think that's my second most popular interview, the first one I did with him. My most popular interview is there a spiritual component to narcissism with Dr. Salerno. That one has 21,000 views. And then my first HG Tutor one has 15,000. Dr. Simon is a gem, and you were solid in the interviews prepared. Yes, thank you very much. Dr. Salerno, or Dr. Simon, I learned a lot from him. I still love his saying, it's not that they don't see, they disagree. It's not that they aren't aware, they just don't care. And also, how it's not just a defense mechanism. That was something I was thinking about pushing back on with Christian, because he had said it's just a self-protective thing, to which I don't always agree. I think it can be offensive too. Taking control, not the same. Not the same as a defensive posture. But that's the thing with the environmental people, the people that think it's a core of shame, it's a core of they confabulate. I don't really like that very much. I don't buy that. I think some people who have experienced trauma will confabulate, but that's not what I think narcissists are doing. I don't think that's what they're doing. I think it's a different ballgame. Also, while you're all here, I'm thinking Monday nights are a good night for a live stream. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Correct. I agree, Ellie. Shameless. Shameless, as Dr. Simon would say. Shameless, as the Showtime show would say. But I'm thinking 3 a week. 3 a week would be good. And random ones too. Almost every night I could possibly do. But it's hard. It's hard when I do an interview, my social battery dies. And when my social battery dies, then it's harder to go live. And I want to start doing more longer recorded videos too. Only because, the shorts are good, but it's not really helping me that much on YouTube. My shorts help me on Facebook and TikTok, but it doesn't really help much on YouTube per se. It provides value, but I'm at the point where I gotta be more business focused too, unfortunately. It's just the way of the world. It's the way of the capitalist world. Yeah, but Rhodes, if you're still there, I'd be curious what I think I know what you'll say about the unfinished business. It seems like he's still working through some stuff, but yeah, who isn't? I think if we all waited until we were in a perfect spot, no one would be helping anyone at that rate. But all right. So maybe that's about time to wrap this up here. In terms of the collaboration, narcissists will not be collaborating. It can look by coincidence that they are. It can look like it, but it's really fear, dominance, control, intimidation, manipulation. And they're all acting for their own selfish reasons. Flying monkeys might be afraid. Flying monkeys might be doing it for their own selfish purposes, but I wouldn't call that collaboration. Remember, collaboration, mutual respect, trust, collective problem solving. That is not what narcissists do. Narcissists will not be collectively problem solving. Ellie says absence of empathy, absence or limited conscience, shameless, deceptive, dangerous. Correct. Correct indeed. And this is the other thing I see people say to me as pushback. There'll be people that I'm pretty sure are narcissists or narcissistic at the least. And you're very welcome, Angela. And what they try to do is they muddy the waters. They try to muddy the waters and say, you need to be sharing what the difference is between NPD, narcissist, and narcissistic. Because just because someone does some of these behaviors doesn't mean they're that bad. It's like, well, making that distinction doesn't really matter. What matters is how they're treating you. That's what matters. And they'll try to muddy the waters because they'll say, oh, I'm only doing it this much. I'm only gaslighting a very little bit. I'm only abusing you out of coping mechanisms. And you know what I say to that? That's BS. That's BS that muddies the waters. They want to use it as a way to avoid accountability and to slip through. But I would say MPD, the full pathology disorder, is going to be the most obvious. But that doesn't mean someone who just isn't narcissistic isn't also abusive. You don't have to be a full-blown narcissist to be abusive. You don't have to have the full disorder to be out of control. And I think that's what they want you to think. They want you to think you need to have the full disorder to be that bad. No, you don't. No, you don't. You can be that bad even without it. That label doesn't matter. How they're treating you matters. Rhodes says, sorry, Jared, got caught up with tending to children here. Oh, no worries. I'll answer your question via an email in the next couple of days. Okay. I will look forward to it. Angela says, consider making these live videos a little bit earlier, Jared. Yes, you're right. I mean, now that it's going to be getting darker sooner, I will be able to do that. Yes, plain old bad is absolutely bad. And I think, yeah, maybe 8 o'clock, 8:30 start time. Correct. I think that'd be a good start time. I did ones in the afternoon before, but I didn't get as much traction on that. I might start trying again just to see. And I might try to go live multiple times a day. Yeah, 9's a good time. 8:39. I like that. Because most people aren't in bed by 9, at least Eastern Standard Time. And because I mean dinner, and if people have kids and things, they got stuff going on. And it's going to be a little more difficult for them. But I did really enjoy my conversation with Christian. He interviews himself, basically. He's one of those people that you just have to steer the conversation a little bit. Makes my job easy. Oh, I will. But I also want to make sure that it's good for everyone. Or for as many people as possible. Because if it's not good for anyone else, that won't be good for me either. Definitely wouldn't be good for me either. But all right. I think I'll wrap it up here, everybody. A little shorter today, but that's fine. I'm looking to do another interview this week. Dr. Salerno will be back again in a few weeks, no doubt. Any questions you want me to ask him, I definitely will as well. I got a list already. Yeah, you gotta just see what works, you know. You throw some stuff up against the wall to see what works. Because I do think the YouTube algorithm does like it when you go live. I do think that. I think it helps the other content that you do. But we'll see. You're very welcome, Ellie. Thanks you all for hopping on board here and participating. It's always a pleasure. So Rhodes, Angela, Ellie, Alex, and whoever else, you have a great rest of your night.